Representative Tom Mehaffie, thank you so much for joining us today. I understand that you have a high distrust of microphones after one malfunction. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I don't know about malfunction, but it's you get involved in doing these things, and you just got to be careful. When your writer turns around and says everything's working properly, and you do the ice bucket challenge, and it didn't work, and I said, hey, make sure this works okay. You know what I mean? And she's like, oh, we're good. So I had to do the ice bucket challenge twice, but it was fun. It was the ladies and my wife did it, so they had fun dumping an ice bucket on my head twice.
You've entered the smoke-filled room, where we cut through the haze of Harrisburg politics and get to examine the laws and lawmakers that really drive the discussion.
Well, Representative Tom Mehaffie, again, thank you so much for joining us. You represent the 106th Legislative District, which is, you said, southeast Dauphin County, or as most people call it, the greater Hershey area. Is that correct?
It is, yeah, thank you. And again, thanks for doing this. I think it's important we get on here and talk about issues that are important not only to the district but to the Commonwealth. And we can we can put a little bit of better turn on what's going on the day-to-day activities here. It's hard, right? It's hard to explain what happens at the Capitol, but I think it's something you need to do, and hopefully somebody picks up on it and passes the word around what we're doing, the good work we do on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, the district's about 68,000 people. It's one of the largest districts in the state. When they redistrict. So I've gone through the redistricting, so I had a little bit of a different district when I first came in 2017. Of course, the census was done, and in 2022, they redid the district. So it's a little different, not a whole lot, but just a little bit. So I picked up East Hanover and Londonderry Township were the two new ones. I had Conewago Township. I also had, South Hanover was new also. I had Derry Township, and then Lower Swatara, where I live. And then we have three boroughs. We have Royalton, Middletown, and Hummelstown Borough.
So what's the big industry in your area?
So we have three. The biggest one probably and the largest of employers is definitely Hershey Medical Center, which is Penn State Health. That is the largest. And for all the right reasons. I mean, it's a great place.
Absolutely.
It's I kind of fell in love with it when you get involved in trying to help. And not only is it great to help those in troubling times when you're sick. We all know when you go in the hospital, it's tough, right? It's tough for you if you're the patient, but it's even tough for you if you're the caregiver and the person hopefully being there to watch over your loved ones. The other part of it is the research that they do. I mean, we have great scientists and doctors there that are doing some of the best research in the country, and we're going to continue to help promote that. And I think you're going to see some great things come out of HCAR, which is located right aside of us. When I say aside of us, beside of the Hershey Medical Center, and that really is a lot of the doctors and scientists that came from the Hershey Medical Center and are over there now. So you're seeing a lot of good things coming up. So we're really proud of the work they do, and we're big supporters of that as the Commonwealth in this biotech, research and what we do there. The other one is 3 Mile Island. It was not in the district when I fought to keep it open back in 2019. Now it is. So Londonderry is part of the district now. And then the other one is, of course, the casino. Hollywood Casino, the racetrack, and how important that is to the district. More reform community, so the racetrack and the horsemen are really, really important to what goes on there. And we can always talk more about that. But
so Hershey Park's not a big employer in your district?
Well, it is. I mean, Hershey Park's important, yeah, but they're the three biggest right now.
Okay.
Hershey, I shouldn't say that. Hershey Park is. So HE&R is one of the bigger ones, too. I should say that. I kind of put it on geographical, the lower part of the district, the middle part of the district, and the upper part of the district. But you're right, Hershey Park is. And then Hershey Foods. I mean, they do a great job. And, one of my bills that I introduced here, I guess it's the third session or fourth session I've done it, was making the Hershey Kiss the state candy. So there's a lot going on there, too. Yeah.
Has that ever gone through?
So it's passed the House twice. It's sitting over in the Senate right now, waiting to hopefully be passed. Hopefully
and that's
we'll get that done.
Through a group of kids, right?
Yeah. It's really something exciting because during the pandemic, a group of young ladies that were in school did a civics project, and their project was a state symbol, and they came up with a state candy. No other state in the country has it. But we should embrace it for one reason. We have great confectionery chocolate makers in the state. I mean, we have great ones. But Milton Hershey and Catherine Hershey were the drivers of chocolate in the country, let alone Hershey and the Commonwealth. So when you look at the iconic figure of the Hershey Kiss, everywhere you turn around in Hershey, it's the kiss, the kiss, the kiss. If you listen to a lot of even TV shows or whatever, everybody talks about the Hershey Kiss. So I think it's the thing that we should do because it represents Pennsylvania.
Plus, none of those other candy makers have roller coasters, so how important are they really?
They do not. They do not. But, I've been at a lot of the different manufacturers across the state, and they do a great job, and they're small businesses. But this is a candy that, we can talk about the Hershey bar, we can talk about Kit Kat, we can talk about, the Peeps, and we can talk about all kind of other.
Reese's, don't get Reese's, the best of all of them.
Right? And we have M&M Mars right down the street from me in Lancaster County. They're all nice. They do great jobs. It's just, this is iconic to Pennsylvania. And the thing that it does more than anything else, and I think this is the only candy in the world that does this, it helps disadvantaged children. So those proceeds that are made from the trust, the Hershey Trust, are going to the kids, from Hershey Foods because they own, the majority share of Hershey Foods.
What is the big issues facing your constituents?
Number one right now is affordability. I mean, we sit and we talk about the electric bills and, the food and just utility bills in general. Let's get away from the electric. Utility bills over the last probably 15, 20 years have just gone up like we've never seen before. We have new fees. We have stormwater fees in our area because of the Chesapeake Bay Initiative. We just had a hearing on it the other day. We also, which is driving food cost. So there's two main things, right? There's two things that drive the price of goods, and that's labor and energy. So we have to do something. We have to figure out how we're going to generate more energy in Pennsylvania, And if we do that, we can bring more business here, which, of course, is going to, a lot of these businesses, you look what happened in Allentown with Lilly as far as the manufacturer of medical supplies and drugs, there's something to be said about that. They're coming here to PA for a reason. But we have to generate enough electricity to do that and supply them because they're going to be a large energy producer also. We see AI coming here. They want to come here because we're the second largest producer of electricity in the country, second to Illinois because of our nuclear power fleet. That's kind of how it works. They're seeing the demand of energy in other states. Virginia, they left. Now they're coming here. But we also have other manufacturers that are large users. But in that, supply and demand is driving the cost up for the residents. And we got to figure out how to get that down. And we can do that by bringing new generation here in Pennsylvania and doing the things that we need to do so we can help our residents. Because, number one, they're the ones that are the most important. And if we can do that, I think we can be in a better place.
So I'll ask you something that I've asked a couple of people already who've been on the program. I guess you could call this podcast, whatever. How do you think municipalities should balance attracting younger people and more people to the areas without overdeveloping? Because as I'm sure you know, Pennsylvania is losing the working force age people in droves. I think since Shapiro's administration, I think 75,000 people have left Pennsylvania, all of which being working age. And usually the influx of people that we're getting are older people from Maryland who are coming here because we don't tax pensions and retirements. But you can't run, as much as we love seniors, you can't run a state on senior citizens. You need a tax base. How do you balance that?
So we'll talk about local municipalities and how you balance what you're bringing into your municipality and the quality of life. So I was a township commissioner for 7 years. I actually ran the township for about a year as the manager when we were without. I also sat on the state board, was the president of the central board for township commissioners. That's delicate. I mean, every municipality is different. When I ran for this position and then was elected, the first thing I did was reach out to school districts, reach out to municipalities, and I thought I knew it all. I thought I knew everything about local, the local municipality. You don't. You don't. Every municipality is different. Every municipality has its own way of doing things, but also how you're going to develop it, because you can't just make a model and say this is what it needs to be like. That doesn't work, right? Because of what we do and how we do things. If we look at Lower Swatara Township, a third of our township is tax exempt because we have Penn State Harrisburg, we have the airport, we have the turnpike. So we have a lot of property that's owned by tax exempt businesses, which makes sense because we're the hub right here, right outside of Harrisburg, which is our capital. So that attracts a lot of different non-taxed entities. So, but we're a third, and a third. So we're a third commercial, a third residential, and a third agricultural. So how do you make that work? It's difficult, right? It's just one of those things that you as a commissioner, a supervisor, borough council, city council have to make those decisions. And it's not easy. But if you understand and you work with your people, and what I mean by people is the people you work with on a day-to-day basis, those who are working codes and zoning and so forth, and then reaching out to the constituents and figuring out, okay, what is going to be the quality of life that's going to be best for our residents, and how do we balance that? And it's not easy. It's not easy. I mean, we're seeing it right now. Londonderry, because of the opening of 3 Mile Island, they have some rezoning that's going on, and a lot of people reach out to me, and I'm basically say this: you need to reach out to your local officials. You need to express to them what you think is best for you and the rest of the community, so that we all can have a good quality of life, because that's what it's about. And I said that earlier. You have to really listen to the residents and see what they want, and then you can make those decisions, the hard decisions. You're not going to make everybody happy. That's kind of how this world works. But you got to figure out what is best for majority of your people that live there. What was the other question you asked me? Because I went down.
Well, it was more so a preface to the question of losing people.
So that's a good. Yesterday I was at Penn State. They're celebrating their 60th anniversary. Penn State Harrisburg. I call it Penn State Lower Swatara, but that's okay because that's where it's located. But it's Penn State Harrisburg. The big thing about this, and what I like to hear from the chancellor there, is people are staying. Right, they're coming to Penn State Harrisburg, and they want to stay in the region. They want to stay here. The younger folks coming out of college or school of hard knocks or whatever it is, or the military or whatever we have. So we're lucky, we're blessed. We have the 193rd right at the airport, the Air Force, and of course the airport, the train station, everything revolves right there around Penn State Harrisburg. So you're seeing a lot of different people, international, out of state, in-state students coming to Penn State Harrisburg. But he's telling me a majority of them stay. They like the area. They like to live here. They want to start a family here. Do people leave this state? Yes, they do. They do. There's no doubt about it. I had House Bill 19, has to do with BCBAs, which are Board Certified Behavior Analysts, and of course they're leaving the state. So they're going to get educated here at Penn State because they have that curriculum, and then they're going to leave because we don't license them. This isn't always about we're leaving the state because we don't like it.
Yeah.
They're leaving the state because their profession is not recognized here in Pennsylvania. And when we start doing that, not only in this profession that I was talking about with BCBAs, and these are the folks that help out not only with autistic children, but those with all kind of disabilities. And it might not even be disabilities. It might be an eating disorder. It might be something you would never think of. They're great with PTSD, PTSI, our firefighters, our police officers, those that have gone through and seen it, our military, of course, too. But those that have seen the worst of the worst, our frontline folks are, they're seeing things that we shouldn't see, and God bless them for what they do, and we're real happy to have the volunteers and the professionals that we have. So that is, I think, some of the problem, that we're not recognizing new professions, we're not grasping new professions, and there's not a lot of business here. Now, over the last couple weeks, you're going to hear a lot more of businesses coming and locating here and doing things. I think it's the first step to keep our younger generation here, but we do have an older generation. We're probably, I think, the oldest with 80 and older when it comes down to our elderly and those seniors that are here. So that puts a real that's we have to recognize what that cost is and how we can help those that are coming here to live and living out the rest of their life, because it's the golden years. It's something I think they come here not only for that reason, though. They don't just come for the reason of we don't tax retirement. I think people really want to come here and live.
Well, it's because Pennsylvania is better than Maryland, hands down. Anyways.
Well,
so
I mean,
it's
that's part of it. I'll agree with you. I think it's one of the greatest states around. But you'll see a lot of people relocate to the South and then come back. You know, they want to be with their family. They want to be back so that brings them back. But Pennsylvania's unique. You got 4 seasons. There's so much to do here too. And if you're a retired, and my parents are in their 80s, and you know they're both retired for quite a bit of time now, and they're staying. You know, they're not leaving. They travel sometimes, and they're able to get out of the state. But I think it's just an attractive state to live. Now, you'll see a lot of younger folks. They want to live in the cities. So Pittsburgh and Philly are really attractive to them. I think if we can do a little bit better with some of our other cities, Harrisburg especially, and Scranton, and you know, if we go to Altoona and others, maybe making that Erie a little bit more attractive, bring more business there, higher pay. I was just talking to a friend of mine. Their daughter lives in New York City in Manhattan. It's pretty expensive to live in Manhattan.
I think I just saw something where someone's paying like $4,300 a month for like a studio apartment.
Yeah, the size of this table.
Yeah.
But there's 4 of them living in there, splitting.
Yeah.
You know, but that's okay. And hopefully, you know, they get their experience and then they're going to come back and raise their family here, because it really seems to me that maybe younger people do leave, but they come back. They come back because you want to raise a family in Pennsylvania. We got great public schools. We have the things that, you know, are needed to educate our youth and get them to where they are. We can't expect everybody to stay, you know, but we can surely do a little bit better, but I think we're doing all the right things right now. We're looking at industry coming here, and I think that's a really big attraction for people to come here, because it's going to be about pay. People want to make a lot of money. You know, they want to know that they're secure in their jobs. Job security is of the utmost. They don't want to. We just had something happen right outside the district where the steel mill, 130 some year steel mill, just up and closed. 600 people lost their jobs. It was horrible. It's horrible. And they were great paying jobs with great benefits. And we saw them lose their jobs. And it's hard for them to relocate and find another job making what they were making. So we're hoping maybe somebody buys that out, brings people back to the job. And hopefully we can see that continue here as far as one of the bigger manufacturing of ingots. And they use a lot of the steel that they're making for not only rail, but of course down in at the shipyards.
So I know you know the struggles of a small business very well, as you before, and I think you still are a small business
33
owner.
Years. Yeah, it's been a long time. I started when I was 22.
So before we get into that, I want to know a little bit about your journey that led you to becoming a small business owner and eventually a state representative. Where I understand you did not grow up in the area that you currently represent?
I did not.
Okay.
Now, I've lived here since 1993.
Gotcha.
I grew up in a small town called Pittman. It's right in Schuylkill County. It's west side of Schuylkill County. I went to Tri-Valley High School, a small little school. Great education, great school. My nieces and nephews go there now. It's rated one of the top schools in the state. But it's small, right? It's a rural community, not a whole lot going on up there. Nice farm community. Great place to raise a family, I can tell you that. And my parents did real well. So my father was a union electrician in the IBW 143. My mom was a hairdresser, stay-at-home mother, but had her salon right in her house, where I grew up. And I decided to go to college. I went to a 2-year school. It's no longer there anymore. It's called Thompson Institute. It was located here in Harrisburg. And I really never came back, to Schuylkill County. I located here. I got a job in an accounting firm. One of our clients was selling his beer distributor, Joe Bresky, and I came home to my dad and I said, "Hey, I have a kind of have a little bit of a business plan, not much of a plan, but
As much as you can in your early 20s.
Can I borrow some money?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and then Joe was kind enough to finance the rest of it for me. So I had a little down money, and here we are 33 years later. I have about 10 employees. They're great. They're great people. Tough business, though, right now. When I first started, it was growing. Last couple of years have been tough. The expansion of how we sell alcohol in Pennsylvania has changed the dynamics of what our business does. And it's good. We used to sell cases only. Now we're allowed to sell singles, growlers. We also have slushies. Now we have the RTDs that we're able to sell. So the industry has changed quite a bit.
And I understand the consumption of alcohol is starting to decrease as well.
It's everywhere. It's not only our beer industry or the RTDs. It's liquor. It's wine. I think a lot of people, 30 years since I got in, and asking kids, this is bad for you. Don't do it. Children listen. So that now they're grown-ups and they came into it. And it's a little different. It's a good thing. It's we want to be safe. We want to keep the roads safe, any type of alcohol. But anything that we do that can affect your way of thinking and driving and the things you do, you got to be very, very careful. And, over the years, you learn a lot. You learn a lot about people, number one, because you're a bartender when, people come in to talk to you a lot. But you see people maybe fall into a slump. If you're good at your job, you reach out to their family and you say, hey, I think John has a problem. You might want to talk to him about it. And I've done that. I can't even tell you how many times. So it's very important you recognize when people have a problem, but you also recognize, we always say invisibly intoxicated patrons, who you serve, how you serve alcohol. But the industry in general is just down. It's down. You're going to see it in the LCB's numbers. You're going to see it, of course, in the beer industry numbers. And this is nationwide. This isn't just Commonwealth. This is nationwide. It's not here in PA. So we're seeing it. And you know what? It'll bounce back. It always does. It always comes around. And we'll see what happens then. But we had to change a lot of things that we do and how we sell. So it's really important that we evolve with change.
How did you get involved in politics?
That's a good question. I always dabbled in it, thought it was something I'd want to do when I was younger, and then I kind of forgot about it, right? I got into my business. I was, it was just, when I started, it was me. I had a partner for a short period of time, and then he got out. And it was just me and a couple part-time employees, so I worked all the time. So you didn't have time to think about anything. Then one day, the General Assembly wanted to change things, and it was going to be detrimental to my business. And a friend of mine said, if you don't make politics your business, politics is going to be in your business. So I turned around and I got involved in my local organization, which is called the Malt Beverage Distributor Association. And they represent more of the retail beer distributors, not the wholesale side, the guys that supply me with beer. And I got involved with them. I ended up becoming the president of the board, spent a lot of time here at the Capitol, and that's kind of how I fell into this. And then there was things going on in my local township, ran for township commissioner. Everybody loves the beer guy at that point. So not everybody loves the politician, but they love the beer guy. So I was able to win my first election. I won my second election, and that's when I became president of the board. Ran the board, as far as being the president. But then I was also the manager. I said earlier, it gave me a really good understanding of what's going on. You learn a lot. Part-time politicians, it's tough, right? It's tough to be in that position because you're not in the day-to-day operations. So you are relying on staff to really help you through and make decisions at the local level. Here it's different. You're on all day, every day, 24/7, 365. It doesn't matter when it is. It could be Christmas. You're getting texts, phone calls, emails, whatever it is. Yep. But it prepared me for this, and I was able to be up at the Capitol, so I knew a lot of our colleagues. A lot have retired over the years, but I knew a lot of the colleagues just because I was here with my organization as the president. And that allowed me to come in and hit the ground running quickly, because a lot of our folks that come in as members of the General Assembly, whether it's senator or, of course, the House, it's their first time in the Capitol. They've never really been here. They really don't understand it. So there's a learning curve. So it's harder for them to get started. So it was good for me, and plus I live here.
Mm-hmm. So before we get into your work as a representative, I want to take it back a little bit because a lot of your work has to do with 3 Mile Island, or at least the things that you're seeing in the media right now, or recently at least. And what was your first experience with 3 Mile Island?
So that goes back when I was a child. My father worked there. He worked a lot of overtime, wasn't home a whole lot because he was there getting things ready, TMI-1 and then, of course, TMI-2. And then he moved from there to Berwick, which is now Talon, and the Susquehanna plant, which is the nuclear power plant in Berwick. So he worked there, and I kind of got an understanding from him, just listening to him talk, the things he said about it, where we were at. Of course, in 1979, TMI-2 had the meltdown, and we're still dealing with that right now. They're dismantling that as we speak. There's a group in there doing a decommissioning of that particular site. Pretty much everything's, all the waste was put off site earlier, and now they're just finishing it up and getting it basically down to bare bones.
So tell me a little bit about that meltdown. What exactly happened?
Yeah, well, I was young. I mean, I forget what grade I was in. So I was born in 71, so that would have made me 8 years old. So I would have been about second grade. It was a scary time for everybody. No one knew, and not only did we not know, but government didn't know. Nuclear energy was on the rise. We were building it across the nation. It was something that no one really understood, right? And then this happened. Boom. A malfunction in a valve. Here we go. So you have a lot of that, and we talk about that with people that have been around a long time. And some people are not for it because they went through a tough time in their life there. You can watch it on Netflix. I've watched it. I don't agree with everything that they said in there. The first one was you get a base understanding of what happened to the community. It wasn't just Middletown, right? It was Londonderry Township. It was Lancaster County. It was York County, right across the river. Everybody was involved in this. Some people moved. Some people left. Some people stayed and helped with the cleanup. So what it was, though, is we recognized the faults in what we did. INPO was developed by Mr. Crane at the time, was initiated that.
And what is that?
And that's what is INPO? It's the Industry of Nuclear Power. I can't remember what it is exactly.
Maybe not
but the acronym, what they do is they take everything that goes on in the nuclear power plants, and they turn around and they disseminate it back out. This same valve that stuck happened in a plant in Ohio. If they would have had INPO at the time, that would have been out, and they would have said, we're going to have a problem with this valve, which we never had that workability as far as with the industry to say, here's what's going on. So I think it's important that you have that, because it's a dangerous, nuclear power is the safest energy, in my opinion, the cleanest energy, and the people that work there, it's career jobs, and it's great, right? What's going on there right now is pretty fantastic at the Crane Clean Energy Center, TMI-1. The point I'm getting after is that you have to respect it, though, and that's what we did as a country, and we wrapped our arms around it. We saw what happened at TMI-2, and they started initiatives to make sure we're safe. Everything that has happened in the world, whether it be when it was Chernobyl and then Fukushima. From Fukushima was a natural disaster. It wasn't anything anybody did. It was a natural disaster. A tsunami came in, and they had their generators in their basements, and they couldn't produce the electricity to run the plant because they were flooded. Probably should have put them on top of the building. But whatever it is, it happened. But from that, we learned from that. And they built buildings, and they have 2 places in the country that can bring in any piece of equipment needed to help out at a site if there is a natural disaster. So we don't have a Fukushima. So everybody learns from their mistakes, and I think that's what we've done well. I think the industry has done a great job, and I think that's why you're going to see the revitalization of nuclear power in this country. It's something that's coming, and new power. What I mean by that is small modular reactors are coming, these micro reactors. It's going to be the next thing for this country, and they're doing it in other countries. But it is something that we need to start looking at. We have Westinghouse located right out in the western part of the state, one of the best in the country for developing these new types of power, and also working with the old type of power and doing and bringing that new technology to life. It's really important, and they're doing a great job at it.
So in 2019, then you kind of dove headfirst into the whole nuclear issue. Tell me why. What happened? What was your experience with that?
that was an interesting time for me, because everybody kind of shied away from it because it was so controversial. And, we had the gas industry was against, subsidies, and they said the no nuke bailout. And, there was a lot going on then. And a lot of people they just didn't want to get involved in a high profile, controversial type issue. I didn't look at it that way. The way I looked at it was, I have a lot of residents who were working there, a lot of constituents that were either part of it or their family's part of it, or however it was.
Because the 3 Mile Island shut down.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you. So when that came about, I said, we got to do something. We got to open this up. At the time, Representative Heckernill was representing the island and Londonderry Township, where it's located. So when he didn't want the bill, and he didn't want to take the lead on it, I was like, I'll do it. And it was only my second term. So here we go. It's one of those things. And we had a lot of hearings. We had a lot of things go on. This General Assembly made a huge mistake by allowing it to shut down. We did a House Resolution 238 in 2022, which came out in February of 2024. It's about a 70-page read. If anybody's interested, I can get it for you. But what it showed and what they said is they made a huge mistake by shutting down 3 Mile Island, because now here we are. We don't have enough generation. We want to bring more industry here. AI's here. We have all the things going on, and we just don't have enough generation. And you, the resident, you, the consumer, you, the constituent, are paying a higher price for it, which shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen at all. So I got involved. It was House Bill 11. It was through the AEPS, the Alternative Energy Portfolio Standard. And at that given point in time, we put a third tier in there, recognizing that nuclear power was a clean energy, which that's what AEPS talks and works through. They have waste coal in Tier 2, things to clean up the environment, but we thought that this should be recognized. When they created AEPS, it wasn't recognized because they would have gobbled it up, right? They would have gobbled up majority of the money. It wasn't a large hit. It was $500 million in monies, and then there was a ceiling on it too. So if it would happen like today, and the rates went up high enough, it was a bridge, right? It was a bridge. So if those rates went up, it would have stopped, and they wouldn't have got any of the resources. And then if it got too low, of course, those resources would kick in and help them out, to average out the cost. Very expensive to build one, very expensive to run one. It's just the way it is, but it's definitely your base load power in this country. And, they recycle their fuel anywhere between 18 to 24 months. So you'll see a refueling outage brings a ton of people to the area. Safe storage is so important on site. So that's what happens with your spent fuel. And there was a lot going on in there, but I learned a lot. I learned how the industry works. I worked with all the industry members. I worked with, at the time, First Energy, with Beaver Valley, which is now Vistra. I work with Talon, which is the Berwick plant. But the one thing you have to realize is Rural Electric owns a portion of that nuclear power plant in Berwick. So they own a small share of that. And that's extremely important to rural PA. extremely important, because majority of your energy that's produced for rural electric is coming from that plant.
Tell me about your role in reopening 3 Mile Island.
I always push to do something. I always push to say we got to get this plant reopened. We got to figure out a way to revitalize the plant, whether it be small modular reactors or whatever we needed to do. And everybody was like, "You're crazy, Tom. They're never going to reopen it," and that's just how it was going to go. And I'm like, "No, we got to do it." Hence the reason I did the House resolution, showing how important small modular reactors are to this country and this Commonwealth, and then also what our traditional nuclear reactors are doing. So when I got the call and somebody said, "Hey, they're thinking about reopening this," and I was like, "Okay, it's good. When the time happens, we'll talk." And then I got introduced to what was really going on. So Microsoft was involved. Bill Gates loves this kind of power. Like I said, it's a baseload power that runs basically seamless without any interruption. It's clean, which he's about, and he needs a lot of power to power his new data centers with Microsoft. So they looked at it, Constellation, and Microsoft came up with a power purchasing agreement, and it basically took off from there. So when I say I'm involved in it, I was involved to support what they were doing. I support any type of generation of electricity. I don't care what it is, because I think we need a rounded way of doing it. We need a secure grid. We need to make sure that all kinds of power are brought into play. The only two really baseload powers are coal and nuclear, because they have a fuel source of 3 months or more. And that's kind of what they say baseload power is. Gas is a little bit different. It's on demand. It works great. It's perfect until it gets really, really cold. Then it gets a little finicky, as what we saw in the state of Texas and Houston when their lines froze. We do it a little bit better here. We deal with the cold a little bit better than Texas.
Our infrastructure's made for it.
So we're a little bit luckier on that. So we've had that, and we're sitting on the largest vein of Marcellus Shale in the world. So why not utilize the things that are out there? The thing about our new gas plants are they're cleaner to the atmosphere. They have some emissions, but we have waste in everything we do. Whether it's solar, whether it's gas, whether it's coal, whether it's nuke, whatever it is, you always have some kind of waste, and you deal with that. You make do with what you have in front of you, and that's kind of what we're at with generation. So when Microsoft came, I met with Microsoft. I met with Constellation, and we had a pretty good conversation of what was going to happen. And they're on schedule, and hopefully it'll be open in June of 27.
How do you think the nuclear power of today, and I want to make sure I'm saying it nuclear, not nuclear.
I say it wrong too. I roll
okay.
it sometimes. I say nuclear, but I've been criticized for that. So I just say it's nuclear energy. So you're fine. You can say it whatever way you want to say it. I don't think anybody's going to chastise you for the way we say nuclear.
So how do you think the nuke energy, we'll just stick with that, is going to be different in the future compared to what we see today?
Well, the new technology is coming. I mean, Westinghouse is working on it. But I think you still have to look at the traditional nukes and see exactly the amount of energy they produce, the amount of megawatts that are produced out of your existing plants. And now there was one just opened down in Georgia, which was, I'm pretty sure it's a Westinghouse product. I think that can also be part of the future, but it's very expensive to build. I mean, you're looking at $10 billion with a B for each reactor. So it's a $20 billion investment for 2 reactors. Now you have to do that because of economy of scale, the amount of workers you have and the things that are going on. That's the reason why 3 Mile Island was failing. They couldn't meet the capacity bid. They couldn't get into that bid. Their prices were too high, and at that time, that's what was basically shutting it down. We were having a huge problem with them being able to bid on the market because energy was so cheap. Gas was real low. The way PJM does it, it's a capacity bid market through FERC, and then the other thing is you also have You also have the price of gas does some regulatory pricing. So if gas goes up, usually electricity goes up. And that's kind of how this all works. But then it's also the supply and demand situation that we're in today. But with SMRs coming, the small modular reactors, those types, I think it's better than it's ever been. Meeting with those that are building the new technology, I had the opportunity to meet with people from France. I have people meet with those from Japan, because after Fukushima they shut everything down. And they did soft shutdowns, of course, not with the ones that the tsunami hit, but they were pretty much nuke across the country of Japan, shut everything down. They're starting to reopen now, what I'm told. So they were very, very interested in what was going on here. So this is a global opening. It's not just an opening that we did here in Dauphin County and the Commonwealth, but it's also people are seeing we can open ours back up now safely, and we have the technology, better technology, to do it in a safer, better way. That plant, TMI, has been running for almost 50 years seamlessly. One of the best reactors in the country, one of the most efficient reactors in the country. When we had brownouts and blackouts, that reactor is what kept Pennsylvania from having a brownout or blackout. So we have something special there. It runs. It is, like I said, it's clean. It's baseload power. It's everything we want. So I think those are the things that we need to understand, and it's safe, right? It's safe. I've been in every one of them across the state. I've been in Limerick. I've been in Peach Bottom. I've been at 3 Mile Island. I have been in Beaver Valley, and I've been in Talon up at Berwick in the Susquehanna plant. You could eat off the floors. That's how clean it is. And it's just, you feel safe. The security is bar none. It's probably harder to get in there than it is to get in Fort Knox, I always tell them. But so it's one of those things that I'm really looking forward to seeing what the new technology is, but also bringing in the old technology to make sure that we have a secure grid in the country in Pennsylvania.
So you've been called or dubbed an enemy of Pennsylvania for wanting to restart it. I don't see how that's really.
Yeah.
What's your response to that?
You know, that goes back to there's two gentlemen who really have been at TMI Alert. Is one of the gentlemen, Eric Epstein, and then Gene Stilp. They're out in front and against it. They always have been ever since '79. Gene Stilp's a little bit more boisterous about it, but he called me an enemy of the state, of the country, whatever he did. Whatever he wants to call me. Look, everybody has their opinion, and I'm grateful for that. I am. I've been around this. It's not like I just jumped into this and said, oh, yeah, this is great or whatever. For the since 2018, going and rolling into this in 19, I've done extensive research myself. I've had and were able to meet with everybody, all the owners, the people that run the plants, those that are doing. It's confidence. I mean, they're confident that this thing is going to work seamlessly and efficiently and clean and everything that goes on. But safety is the first priority in all of it. And every person, they said, I wouldn't work here if it wouldn't be safe, right? So you have to listen to the staff.
And their families live in those communities.
Absolutely. I said, would you if it wasn't safe, would you work there? No, of course you wouldn't. It's safe. The old facet of The Simpsons, you know what I mean, and the green goo coming out, that's not even close.
It's a cartoon.
Right? Yeah, it is. And I guess, okay, they can make a spoof of it or whatever they want. It isn't that way. And calling me that, they're angry. It's opening. That's okay. I'm sorry that they feel that way about me, but we're going to continue on, and that doesn't stop me because a couple people called me a name.
So, and I'm sure that you think that people do have, like, the concerns people have about nuclear energy are legitimate. I mean, there are safety concerns, but there are also safety concerns in terms of producing any sort of energy, whether it's solar or wind-powered energy or oil. There are safety concerns that go along with producing energy, just as much as there is with producing candy in Hershey, right?
Everything you do is safe, right, is safety concerns. That's why we want to do it safe. You're correct. But you look at what happened with the train wreck out in Ohio, that big problem, right? Huge problem. Those containers are coming through our area. No one knows it. They don't look at it. They see, cars going by. They don't think anything of it until there was an accident. So what they do today in this industry is safer than it's ever been, and they continue to make it safe. And the things that they do and learn from the mistakes that we said earlier that happen in other countries, I'm telling you, I feel as comfortable as I've ever felt over any energy production that I've been able to see. I think it's one of the safest, cleanest energies that we can have that is going to produce when others can't. And that's the whole thing about keeping our grid safe. That's a national security issue. It's a Commonwealth security issue. It's a local issue. It's everything above, right? And we have to embrace that and see what we need to do. Yes, 1979 was a bad time, but we can make this work, and they are making it work. And the things that they're doing is pretty spectacular, to be honest with you.
So recently, and I'll end on this question here, you've been making some waves with some of the votes that you've been making across party lines. What do you say to some of your critics who are saying that you've been doing that a little bit too much?
I represent my district, and it's not my district. Let's put it that way. I represent a district, okay, to a T. I look at what the district does. I spend a lot of time in the district. I spend a lot of time meeting with people in the district, and whether it's an event, an Eagle Scout ceremony, whatever it may be. It may be an event that we're hosting, a veterans event, whatever, okay, a health expo, whatever it is. You get to talk to people. You got to be... I'm in retail. That's what I do. So I talk to people. The biggest thing about it is you got to find out where your constituents are, and how do you balance the voting that happens here at the Capitol. And you get an understanding. I do things that most people don't do. I do polling all the time. Most of my colleagues don't do that. I probably do 2 a year just to make sure the issues are in front of me and I know what they are. One of them is this issue, right? Because you have to be on top of it when it comes down to nuclear power, and where people feel. Of course, there's people in Middletown that don't like it, but there's other people that do. I can tell you, it's created a ton of jobs down there. I had somebody come up to me when the energy secretary was there, Chris Wright, and he came up to me and he used to work for me at my business. And he said, "Do you remember me?" I said, "Yeah, Corey, I remember you." He goes, "Tom, I got this job. It's great. I love it, blah, 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 blah. Thank you for supporting this industry." That's important. And he lives in the district. So you hear those kind of things, and then you act on it. There are things that I have voted, maybe it wasn't quasi-Republican enough, but I'm okay as long as the bill's good for the district. And as long as the bill is going to do something good for the district. If it's bad for the district, I'm going to vote against it. If it's good for the district, I'm going to vote for it. There are things that I see, maybe, and I spend a lot more time, where my colleagues don't like it and vote against it. That's okay. I believe in some of the things that we're doing. I believe that I work with Republicans and Democrats, colleagues, and I'm going to find a way to vote for a bill rather than just say no to a bill. It's easy to vote no. It really is. It's harder to find a way to get to yes on some of these bills, whether that's amending it, whether that's just working with the maker of the bill or me, the maker of the bill, and working with those to make it a stronger bill, to make it better. I'm not perfect. I don't live in the world of the perfect. I live in the world of the possible. So if we can get something done, let's get it done and make it happen.
Representative Thomas Mehaffie, thank you very much.
Thank you.